the reason I'm registered as an independent is because a lot of the rhetoric around immigration or people in that community from the Republican Party and from Trump is particularly concerning to me, especially at the last rally. I know there was one of the speakers there compared Puerto Rico to a trash dump, something like that. One of my best friends, she's from there. I have family and friends who've gone there and have been to this place. They don't get representation in Congress. They still pay taxes, and to see them being treated like this and spoken of like this, it's concerning. Because I don't know what kind of policies are going to be behind that rhetoric. So I'm asking, do you
So
have
how
any
much
thoughts
do you
on
know
that?
about the speaker that said that?
I know that he's a comedian.
Yeah. Does that factor at all into that?
It does, but the fact that he was invited there in the first place and that he said this sort of stuff, it does
Yeah,
concern
I
me.
just think, okay, so let me ask you a question. It's not a hypothetical.
Okay.
Which one should matter more? A comedian making a bad joke, I agree, or a president calling Trump supporters garbage?
I think both are bad.
Which is worse?
I'd say the president.
Okay, I agree. So we totally have agreement. So thank you for that, because I think we've never had in American history a president, even during the Civil War, call this many Americans garbage. It's never happened in history. And he said, only garbage I see are his supporters, and he said that explicitly. Right. Look, I don't know what to tell you other than it was a comedian at an event, but like...
Well, it's not even just him. Even when Trump started his first started his campaign, maybe he intended it as misspeaking, but he talked to a lot of Latino people or immigrants who came here as criminals or rapists.
But there are a lot of criminals and rapists coming, though.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
But he never said all. Never.
I get that. The problem is, he says something like that. I've lived out west. Like, I've lived out in Arizona where there are communities who do have undocumented people who work in the agricultural industry. I've had friends who've worked there, and they're good people. They're trying to do more. They're trying to be as upstanding citizens as they can be without being citizens. And again, this rhetoric, it gets passed around, and it worries me for their safety.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bunch of BS. So let me just ask you.
You don't think that has an impact?
No, it's, again, like the rhetoric. I mean, like, first of all, let's just be clear. Do you think it should be illegal to come into America without permission?
No. Oh, wait. Let me rephrase that.
Do you think it should be against the law for someone to come into America without permission?
No. Yes, I do.
Okay. What should the punishment be?
I think it depends on the reason why they came here.
See, I disagree. So let's apply that standard. Do you think it should be illegal to go break into somebody's home?
Yeah.
Do we factor in the reason when we sentence them? Should we?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I disagree. I don't think it's okay to rob a grocery store if you're hungry. I don't think it's okay to rob a bank if you're poor.
Okay.
Do you?
Usually, I do not think it would be okay. But if someone's under extreme circumstances, I can understand why they might make a decision.
Well, hold on a second. People are not coming to America under extreme circumstances.
Really?
What circumstance? Their countries are poor? That's 6 billion of the 7 billion people on this planet. Right?
Yeah.
So that's a right to just walk into somebody else's country?
I'm not saying they should just be able to come here willy-nilly. All right?
But they are, right? And they should be removed and returned to their country of origin, right?
If they can go back there, but that's not always an option.
Well, there's flights every day. Like, you can definitely go back.
I don't mean in terms of transportation. I mean countries like, you bring up what...
Name one country. El Salvador, it's actually safer than America. Venezuela, it's now safer than America. Why? Because they're sending their criminals here. They're opening their prisons and sending the migrants here. That we have a migrant crime wave.
I know people who've come from those countries.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure there's lots of exceptions. Here's the problem, is that you need to put your own citizens first above the citizens of another country, always. And right now, everybody in this audience, they're the first generation since George Washington, have it worse off than their parents. And so I don't care about the rhetoric. I don't even know what you're talking about, to be honest. Instead, I do not have a soft spot for someone that is coming from the third world illegally into our nation when our own generation, these kids here, are the most depressed, suicidal, anxious, poor, and least homeownership generation in history. These kids should come first above foreigners. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And again, I'm precise in my language. I can go through the examples of Trump. I will say this, but Trump has record support amongst the Latino community, has record support amongst the black community, because those that have come legally, which I assume you have, coming from...
I was born here.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Great. So that's a separate topic, but that's unrelated. Which is, your parents came here legally, I meant, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Which is great, and that's fine. That's the way it should. We have a very big open heart, but you have to come legally. And there's a difference. And I will say, to your parents that came here legally, I want you to think about this. It's an insult to your parents that had to wait in line, fill out the forms, and not commit any crimes, saying that they had to do it the right way, to the 10 million people that were able to break into this country and cut in line and do it the wrong way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that.
So, please. And by the way, I love that your family's a small business. You know, that people like your family make this country a better place.
We try. But the reason I ask is I talked to my mom. She came from Haiti in the late 70s. She's talked about this stuff. Like, there are people who've come up to our business. We usually don't get any trouble, but we don't usually say, like, hey, we're originally from that country, because we're worried, like, what if somebody's going to come up and say, oh, you're an immigrant? They're going to have trouble with us.
I'm an immigrant, man.
Where are you from?
But I will ask you, though. So let me just, and I think this is important. Generally, have your dealings with white Americans been decent?
Yeah. Depends.
Depends,
yeah.
Really? Would you say that how have white Americans been indecent to you?
To be clear, I'm not saying all that have been, but I know that when we go, depending on where we sell, we often have a much easier time selling in an area where there's
No. That's not what I asked. Just because people don't want to buy your stuff doesn't mean they're being indecent, right?
Yeah.
I mean, has this country been good to you guys? Probably, yeah.
I'd say that.
Okay, good. No, again, we agree. I just, I would reframe your way of thinking as if there's like a boogeyman out to come get you. This is the least racist country ever to exist in the history of the world, ever.
Okay.
And your family is evidence of that. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Okay, who wants to come up?